avoiding your finances is not only a bad idea, but it's actually not good for you. And this applies whether you're just starting out your journey or you're more seasoned when it comes to your financial journey. And so, on today's episode, you're going to learn exactly why so that you can come to the conclusion that I came to a couple years ago, that avoiding and hiding for my money on my next level is literally hurting my future. Welcome to the Money Fit MD show. I'm Dr. Latifat, the founder of Money Fit MD. We want to change the narrative where women physicians use. My job is to let you know that's gonna be. I have to surround myself with people that are doing crazy. Welcome, guys. I'm Dr. Latifat. I'm the founder of Money Fit MD, and I am so delighted and honored that you are here with me. Any chance that I get to spend with you is a pleasure, and I don't take it for granted that you are listening to this episode. By the way, this is one episode that I already know that you're going to want to share with your friends. You're going to want to share with your friends, colleagues. Like when you're walking on the streets of life and you see that person that is not doing their finances, that person that's avoiding, that person that's like comfortable, but like it's time for the next level and they're avoiding it. This is going to be the episode. You're like, wait a minute, I'm going to text you this because this is something that you definitely want to not miss. So welcome, guys. So I broke it down into 5 reasons why you like avoiding your finances and your next level is not good for you. And the reason why I'm saying next level is there's some of you guys that are listening to this episode right now that you've done the basics, right? You've done more than everybody in your surrounding. Maybe you have your debt plan, your spending is pretty good, you have like money left at the end of the month, your net worth is growing, but then there is a call for more. You can hear the call, you can hear the nudge, and you're trying to resist it. Listen, this episode is for you as well. Okay? So the very first thing that I'm going to say is like many times when I find women physicians that are especially starting their journey, they are suffering in the midst of plenty. What do I mean by that? So there is, I have so many stories, but I'm going to share this one specific physician who, I had a call with her. And she had gone years thinking that she was not good with money, right? And the reason why she believed she was not good with money was because she was not being intentional with her finances. She was not slowing down. She was avoiding conversations. She was not looking at where things were. But she was like, I'm so bad at money that I'm not even going to look at it. And I don't want to be embarrassed by what I think I'm going to see. So for her, she was avoiding it, living her best life away from her money. And when I say her best life, y'all know there ain't no best life without a good financial life. That should be like a shirt somewhere. There's no best life without a good financial life. So she was living this not best life. And then when she started looking at her finances intentionally, she started organizing her finances. And it is true that for many physicians, what you struggle with is not that you're bad with money, is that your finances lacks organization. So it's usually a lack of financial organization. It's usually a lack of financial rhythms, not a lack of not being bad with money, because there's nothing like being bad with money, really. It doesn't actually exist. We just make decisions. We have habits, we have patterns, we have rhythms that we create, and that is what actually leads to financial success. And so once she started learning these habits and imputing the habits, organizing her finances, automating things, she realized that, oh my goodness, I actually was not bad with money. She was walking around thinking that her money was not growing. She was like, all of my money is going towards student loans and alimony and all this other stuff. But by the time we actually looked at the specific, her net worth was actually very positive. I think her net worth was like mid 6-figure. So she was not a millionaire yet, but she was like on her path to that. And the reason why I say her path to that is I always tell people that the most important thing is you want to start investing, because when you invest in, it's like you're putting your tools on the right train track. You're putting them to go to the right destination. It's like if you're trying to fly to New York, there may be bumps along the way, but you want to at least be on the flight that is to New York. You want to be in an airport, right? If you're in your house, if you're at the train stop, like you are not going to be going to New York efficiently. So when it comes to investment, it's like you're at least on the airplane or you're at least at the airport. Like you are tending in the right direction to make the things work in your favor. There can be bumps along the way. You may go through, oh my goodness, guys, we were flying through Denver. Denver airport I don't know. The wind, the Rocky Mountain wind, was hecka scary. I was like, whoa, whoa, like literally it was like our plane felt like paper. Anyways, I just remember that. So there may be bumps along the road. So now when I get a chance, I used to avoid Chicago airport whenever I could. Now I'm just gonna add Denver to that line of places we avoid unless we actually are going to Denver. I've been to Denver a long, long time ago. And I think when I used to live on the East Coast, but since I've been on the West Coast, I don't think I've been to Denver. But if I was thinking about organizing a conference in Denver, not anymore. Not anymore. Sorry, Denver. I don't want my people like shaking. Anyways, that was like a sidetrack. But the bottom line is the first thing is for her, she realized that she had been thinking she was bad with money. And when you think you're bad with money, when you think you're doing all the things wrong, it distracts you from actually putting more and making decisions. Like you just step differently when you believe that you are good or getting good or great at something. So the number one thing is you may be suffering for no reason. You may be believing that you're bad and you're like self-judgment and all of those nasty things that we sometimes let our brains tell ourselves when the truth is you actually are doing a good job. So number one is that, okay? The number two thing is a very, very practical thing, is the fact that many times when people come to me, and especially if they're coming into 6 or 7, and if you don't know what 6 or 7 is, 6 or 7 is our 16-week money foundation course for women physicians that want to learn money, that want to organize their finances, that want to stop feeling anxious and overwhelmed about their numbers, and instead they want to build this financial system that is going to lead to inevitable 7 figures for them. That's what we do inside 6 or 7. And one of the things that I've seen over and over again is I would have physicians come in who may be earning $250K, $300K, $400, $600, $700, $800, $1 million, or whatever. And they felt like the income that I'm earning is not enough. And I have to earn more in order for me to have money left. I have to earn more in order for for me to have money to invest. I have to earn more in order for us to be able to take vacations, all those things. And one of the things that I found is when they learn how to find their money leaks, where their money is going, sometimes without them even knowing it, it changes the game. And I've seen that over and over again where someone's like, oh my goodness, now I have money. What do I do with the money? Like, that's the first step in financial liberation, is actually having money left. That's why we created an entire workshop around this called Money Leftover Workshop. I'm going to make sure the link is in the show notes. And what we teach there is 2 hours workshop that helps you find where you're leaking money. I have found that when people think that they have to earn more money, they're looking for side gigs, burning themselves out even more. And there's nothing wrong with diversifying your income source, but there is a mindset of side gig energy, which always feels like not enough income, never enough income. And these are the people that find themselves doing surveys that you waste 30 minutes with, and then they tell you that you did not qualify, or you waste like an hour and they pay you like $20 for it. Like, come on, child. Like, come on, child. Like, come on, child. Right? So many times when you're avoiding your finances, what I find is that the money that you could actually be using towards the things you want, like vacation, towards sabbatical, building your emergency fund, paying for coaching, growing your net worth. Like there's a million things you can do with money that's not leaking for you. And, you know, some of the most common things people talk about is like subscriptions. Yes, subscription is part of it. If you have like redundant subscriptions, things that you're not actually using, absolutely get rid of it. But for most women physicians, subscriptions is not a significant part of it. It is. And I want you to do it because, you know, you're creating momentum. But there's other things like people pleasing taxes. Like this is something we don't talk about. And it's one of the most expensive taxes that we pay. Yes, we pay IRS taxes, but for many women, especially first generation wealth builders, you are paying 4 figures, 5 figures every single month towards people pleasing tax. And we wonder why it doesn't feel like our money is accumulating, because we're paying so much in people pleasing taxes, right? And so these are some of the leaks, the things you're buying for your kids, all the unconscious or subconscious expenses that you're doing, the Amazon impulse purchases, the scrolling impulse purchases. And there are times when it will work for you, right? I'm not saying that buying things that you want is bad. I'm saying that buying things that are redundant unintentionally, buying unintentionally is not helpful. And I want you to start thinking about like the energy that you're spending earning this money, because for many of you guys, especially if you're starting out your journey, you're most likely earning clinically. You're exchanging time for money. So here's what you're doing. You're telling your family, I'm sorry I cannot be here with you. I'm sorry I cannot be here. I'm sorry I have to go to work. I'm sorry I have to go take care of patients. And that is noble. However, look at what you actually are spending with your life's energy. And all of us, we have finite life's energy. This is something that I think the name of the book is Your Money, Your Life. I read it like 5 billion years ago. And some of the things that I still remember from it is this whole idea of like your life's energy, which is the fact that we have time, but we also have energy. And our energy is a limited resource. And so when you're taking that energy, especially the energy you've spent earning the money, away from the things that you actually want to prioritize, away from the things that you love, away from the things that you would rather maybe be doing in certain seasons of your life, what is now happening? You're now taking all of that life's energy and you're exchanging it for another plastic. These are money leaks, right? And so I want you to ask yourself as you listen to this, like, where am I leaking money, right? Because unless you prune, growth will not happen. And guys, this is going to happen to you whether you're starting or whether you're like in the middle of your journey. I have another woman physician that comes to mind right now who, for her, she had done the basics, right? And now she owned real estate. But there was some concern she had about the real estate portfolio that she had grown, where she felt like it was time for her to, some of them were not making money and growing in value like she wanted to. So there's different benefits of real estate. I'm not going to go into micro details with that right now, but the cash flow is something that you want, but also the asset value increase is part of how you grow your net worth. And so for her, neither of this was happening, but there was a thought in her head that, oh my goodness, if I look at my finances, I'm going to feel judged, I'm going to feel shame. So she was not looking, she was avoiding it. But what she needed, what she was supposed to be doing was, if she had looked at it, she would have made certain decisions. So when she got into our program, she's part of the Wealth Village, which is our 12-month coaching container for women physicians that are creating wealth beyond money. These are women that have done the basics and now they're growing beyond that. They're growing their assets. They're growing real estate. They're cutting down at work. They're talking about generational wealth. They're talking about rest. They're talking about like what the next season of life is calling for. So it's money and more. And so for her, in this season of her life, we had to talk about like pruning. And so she had to prune the things that served her in last season but are no longer serving her. The things that were serving her then, that are no longer serving her now, are leaks. They're leaks. So it could be money leaks, it could be energy leaks, it could be time leaks. But if you don't look, what you don't look at may actually be burning you out. What you don't look at could actually be decreasing your journey to freedom. What you don't look at could be decreasing the time, could be increasing the time to the next season of your life that is calling for. So many times I talk about how this is like a birthing process when we go from one season to the next season, but that next season is only going to happen to those that are willing to birth it out. So again, number one thing is you're suffering in the midst of plenty. Number two is like there are money leaks that you are delaying your own freedom because you are not looking. And then the third one is like one of my favorite one is this. I want you to imagine going to a fight with a plastic knife. You go into a fight with a plastic knife. Do you think that you're more likely to succeed with a plastic knife or with a sword? I cannot hear you. Plastic knife or sword? Exactly. So the thing is this, if you are thinking that you're a plastic knife, you may be limiting the amount of cutting that you're doing. What do I mean by that? When my clients, when their finances, when they come into terms of who they truly are, when it comes to their finances, everything changes. Their relationship changes, the way they negotiate changes, the way they handle and communicate with their family members changes, the way they talk to their patient changes, because they start to come back to the badassery that they are. And the truth is this, when you think about it, many times in medical education, many of us come into medical school with some level of confidence to an extent, and then it gets beaten out of us. It gets beaten out of you in first year. It's second year, you're told you're in the ish, you ain't nothing, all right? So you are like being torn down. And then you go through residency and you're like, no matter how amazing you were in med school and undergrad, you get talked down at. I remember there was a conversation that I had in fellowship with this patient's family that was like a wash down. It was like, it should not have happened, but it did, right? And when you are experiencing life with that version of you washed down, it makes you think you're less than you actually are. And I like to remind physicians that there are different kinds of relationships. One of them is a relationship with yourself, which is built on your thought about yourself. If you look at what we've done in point 1 and what we've done in point 2, you can see how your thoughts about yourself starts to change. When the thoughts about yourself changes, gets better because you now start to see that maybe you are badass. Maybe you actually are good. You're a woman that actually looks at numbers. You're a woman that looks at statements. You're a woman that negotiates. You're a woman that invests. All of those, you becoming that, it does not now get limited to finances. That version of you now becomes the person that parents your kids. Now becomes the person that like advises your friends. Now becomes the person that talks to your siblings and tells them not to be less. It changes everything. So the number 3 and maybe most powerful thing is that when you start to look at your finances and say yes to this next level that is calling for you, you start to show up more as who you truly are. And that version of you is a gift. Okay? So number 1 is you're suffering in lack in the midst of plenty. Number 2 is you having money leaks that actually is going to be stealing your money, stealing your joy, stealing your time, stealing your freedom. Number 3 is who you are. You're showing up with the wrong thoughts about yourself. And then number 4 is negotiation. What I find is when women physicians become better at looking at their finances and saying yes to the next level, they negotiate differently. And the truth is that we've been groomed in healthcare, and especially as physicians, and especially as a woman physician, especially as a minority woman or woman of color, you've been groomed to think that you're too much. So you're not negotiating. You're not asking for the raises I should be asking for. And the thing is this, healthcare survives on finances, yet doctors have bought into this lie that money is not important. Even nurses don't buy into that. Nurses, they don't play. They work overtime. They ask for their pay. Doctors work overtime like, oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. Like, why is it fine? Why should you not be getting paid? Why is it a problem that you're getting paid? Right? So then when you start getting better at money because you're not avoiding it, you're organizing it, you see more of what you are, you see your growth, you start to negotiate differently. I remember one of my clients that joined our, she's now an alumni. Shout out to her. When she joined our program, she was like, she wanted to negotiate. She was like, I haven't negotiated in a long time. And I was like, okay, we'll help you negotiate. And I said, how much you want to negotiate for? And she was like, maybe 30,000. I'm like, child, go up, go higher, higher until your heart rate goes up, right? And at the end of the day, we ended up at 100K. So she ended up getting 100K. So imagine that. She was a part of our Wealth Village, paid $10,000 for tuition to join the Wealth Village. Now it's $15,000 per year. And look at the benefit. She just went ahead and negotiated and made $70,000 with just that one conversation. $70,000 more because she paid 10K. And she had gone years and years with that negotiation. And that's why it's important, guys, for you to invest in yourself, invest in your community, invest in who you surround yourself with. For her, that was just one. But then eventually she decided that she wanted to leave her job. She wanted to go find another job. And the skills that she had learned by being faced with who she is, now she gets to negotiate differently. She negotiates differently with her time. She negotiates differently with her spouse. She's like, I'm not afraid of negotiating. I'm not afraid to talk about money anymore. That's the gift that you give yourself. So your negotiation tolerability changes dramatically because you have learned how to do this. And then the last but not the least, which is so important, is when you're avoiding money, when you're avoiding the next level that's calling to you, it literally is like saying no to the impact that's calling out to you. I had a conversation recently. Someone asked me a question and said, Latifat, after all of this, accomplishing your goals, what next? And the truth is this. For many physicians, especially first generation wealth builders, many times you are accomplishing other people's financial goals before you accomplish yours. And that is hurting us. But when you actually accomplish your financial goals first, meaning that you've now automated, you see your path to 7 figures, your path to 8 figures, you know how many properties you're going to build, you know how many you're trying to build this year, you know what business you're trying to build, you know what to do with the cash flow from that business. Guess what starts to happen? Things start to change. Your financial goals are now taken care of. And once you're done taking care of your financial goals, you can start to work on other people's financial goals. What does that look like? One of our clients inside of the Wealth Village started offering scholarship for a specific demographic that is important to her. That's an example of an impact. Some of our patients, some of our clients are like starting their own nonprofit organizations. That's impact. That is not like, how do you measure the impact, the ROI, not just in yourself, but to your family members and those around you? So the more you avoid money, the more you avoid next level, the less impact you make, the more you leave the impact that you could be making on the table. I hope that makes sense. So if you're a woman physician and you're like, my goal is to live life well, my goal is to do good, I want to do good, great good in the world, I want to give, I want to start a nonprofit, the question becomes, what is standing in your way? And sometimes it's money, sometimes it's the mindset, sometimes it's the skills, sometimes it's a partnership. I believe that we're one right referral away to good partnerships. So just to reiterate and summarize this. So number one is, we talked about 5 main reasons why avoiding your finances and avoiding the next level is hurting you. And number one is like you're suffering in the midst of plenty, and thinking you lack. Number two is there's money leaks that is actually limiting you and delaying your time to freedom. There's a who you are. There's a leak in your identity. Like that's who you are. The self-identity is really important. And then number four is the negotiation that you're not doing, which means that now you're leaving more table, more wellness, more opportunity on the table. And then the last but not the least is the impact that you are not creating. I hope this has been helpful for you. My hope is that you listen to this and you pick up your work. You decide that I'm going to get ready. I'm going to start my CEO Money Hour. And if you don't know what that is, you can go to moneyfitmd.com/CEO Money Hour. We'll have the link in the show notes. I forgot the link, but we'll have it in the show notes. But go ahead to that link so that you can start to learn how you two can manage your money in 1 week a month. This is literally what I do, and this is how I've taught other women physicians. And don't forget to leave us a review, share, like, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening right now. Thank you very much. God bless you. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.